Welcome back to Tip TV Finance. My name's Charlie Burton. There's an old Japanese word called Kaizen, which embraces the philosophy of continuous improvement. My next guest on the show really embraces the philosophy of continuous improvement. Lily Minatz, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Charlie.
It was about 6 months ago that you came on the show, and we were talking a lot about the specifics of your trading, because you're more of a futures trader using order book and order flow analysis. And so I thought it'd be great to get you back in. I know you spend a lot of time traveling at the moment, and you're just about to head off again on big travels out to India and the likes. So I thought it'd be really good to have you back in and to discuss a little bit more about your trading style and everything else around that. So let's kick things off, because we were just talking over coffee about the specifics of your trading style. Let's start talking about your trading day and how you embrace and how you start your trading day.
I start my trading day with a yoga session that I do in the morning, and then I do meditation. So like I said, these are quite important elements of my trading to calm the mind, to center myself. And then I have a checklist of the things in the morning that I check whether I'm relaxed, whether I had enough sleep, whether I had enough nutrition. And then I start looking at the markets. So first of all, looking at myself, and then looking at the markets, top-down analysis, looking at the news of the day, and marking my levels, and just kind of having a story of the day of what I think could happen, but also being flexible at just going with the flow of the day.
It's interesting because we were talking about your yoga and your meditation, which I think is so important, and not that everyone has to do yoga necessarily, but certainly visualization is a form of meditation as well. Because like you said, you have to be in the right sort of mindset in order to be able to engage with the markets the way you trade.
Absolutely. I think different people have different ways of bringing themselves into that state of calm, alert, but in the same time confident but flexible. It's the state that you start realizing and noticing day in, day out. You know where you are in the right mindset, and whatever helps person to bring, whether it's going in a gym, or whether it's going for a walk, or whether it's just sitting still for 5 minutes, whatever it is, to me it's that practice of meditation, most importantly, to just center my mind. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, and it's also, there is a skill, I suppose, in recognizing the days when you just can't bring yourself in the right mindset, and acknowledging and kind of pricing that into your trading as well. Just being more cautious.
Do you think you've got better now? Because when I interviewed it 6 months ago, and then I know you were on the show a year or so, 18 months or so ago, do you think you've improved at, like you say, acknowledging when you're not in the right mindset?
Absolutely. I have improved in understanding more when I don't work and when my strategy doesn't work. So understanding those two things nice and early, when the conditions, whether it's external condition, internal conditions, market conditions, whatever the conditions are, where they have changed and I don't feel familiar anymore within my body and in front of the market, then recognizing those nice and early and just being aware and pricing that into the trading of the day.
Self-awareness, coming back to that Japanese word, Kaizen. But so we were talking about this, and it's about that comfort level. So being comfortable with what the market may be showing you on any one particular day, and some days the market's just not showing you what you want to see.
Absolutely. As I was saying, as we were talking, there is a rhythm, there is a pattern, there is a way that the market moves, which you feel in the flow, I suppose. And then there is the outer flow, where the market is probably a bit too slow, a bit too fast, a bit too drastic, a bit too volatile, to the level of the sense of the move that you're used to, and just being aware of that, and maybe decreasing the size or doing whatever it takes to just make sure that you're in control of yourself, first of all.
So it's like the pace of the market, like you say, the rhythm, like there's a drum beat, and for you have a certain beat per minute that works for you. So if we were talking and using an analogy of I've got a friend who does a lot of running. So he talks to me about cadence, about the speed of his technique, of his stride. He's always trying to keep the same. So the only way that he can go faster is not by speeding up his cadence, it'll be by lengthening his stride. Now when it comes back to trading, you have a certain cadence. So you have that certain speed of the market that you know suits you. So like we were just talking about, in these summer markets, they're getting a little bit sticky at times. And the price gets sticky and you're trading the S&P and you just don't feel it, do you? It just disappears. So the speed of the market is something that is very important to you.
As a futures trader with a very small target, small stops, when I'm in and out of the market, it's really important for me to be with the speed of the market. And like you said, this August month was a case of me slowing myself down as much as I can. So it's the same setup, it's the same strategy, it's the same everything, but it's just taking much, much longer to execute that, and then knowing my limits as well, that okay, there is this much that I can be patient, and from this point onwards I can sit with this trade which should work in 5 minutes, I can sit for half an hour, but I can't sit more than that. So taking also into consideration my own limitations, as much as I am only a human, as much as I try to adjust to the speed, but there is a certain really edge of the comfort level which I don't think people should push. Well, I don't push at this moment, because then you just become the headless chicken, just not sure what am I doing anymore.
But you've got good at self-analyzing, so you've got good at now, like most experienced traders, as your experience has grown, you've got better at self-analysis to actually recognize when, hold on a second, I'm probably pushing it too much if I try this and this.
Yes.
Yeah. So coming back to the speed, because I find this fascinating, because I'm the same, is that there's a certain pace of the price action which I then feel completely in sync with the markets. If the market gets sticky in the price behavior, then I back off. But when we were talking earlier on, we were talking about, you do like your analysis afterwards, you could look at a price chart at the end of the day, and you could say, oh yes, well, the trend was X, or it generally moved in a certain direction, which you could look back on and say that was fine. But when you're in the thick of it, when you're watching the price action live, it's a completely different story, isn't it, if you're an out-and-out day trader?
Absolutely, and that is why I record my screen, which will give me that sense of speed at the time when I'm watching it. And sometimes it's really interesting when you're watching it after a few days or over the weekend or something, and you think, actually that was moving a lot less slower than I thought. So it's also very nice to see how distorted the mind gets when it gets impatient, or so I do that in conjunction, screening the video as well as putting the chart next to each other, and kind of finding that golden middle and trying to understand, well, can I still work with this pace, with this strategy? Can I adjust my strategy in a different way? And obviously you have to adjust all the time because markets change constantly.
Well, this is the thing. It comes back to what I said at the beginning, this constant self-improvement and being willing to adapt and change to the markets. In part 2, we'll cover off what you do in order to adapt to the markets, because you're constantly evolving as a trader, I believe, anyway, and it's fascinating. I knew this interview was going to be a great one because there's so much that you can discuss here on the sort of work that you do. So we'll park that for a minute and come back in part 2, and we'll look at what Lily does at the weekends.